we are here on this planet to feel. And we're here to feel good things, and we're here to feel not good things. We're here to feel all of it. And it's actually by allowing ourselves to feel that it can move through us.
Welcome to The Way of the Muse, a podcast for women who want to create richness in every area of their lives, from business and career to lifestyle, relationships, family, purpose, and fulfillment. I'm Gigi Sage.
And I'm McKenna Sage. We're a mother-daughter coaching team, and combined, we've spent over 4 decades helping people create their best and most fully expressed lives. If you're ready to step into your bigger dreams with ease, fun, and flow, you're in the right place. Let's get into the episode.
Hello, everyone. This episode is for the empaths and the deep feelers. And this is something I really relate to. This is McKenna, by the way, doing my first solo podcast episode in a while. And I know how intense it can be to feel so much. And so if you're the kind of person that you feel like you feel other people's emotions in your body, or you leave conversations sometimes feeling heavy or drained, or like you're carrying something that isn't yours, or maybe you are finding that you can't watch the news or scroll through social media without it deeply affecting you and affecting your nervous system. I think this is true on some level for everyone, basically, but some of us more than others. So this is really an episode for you. It's how do you stay open in your energy, in your emotions, but not absorb everything, not take everything on, because it's not yours to take on. So you want to stay open, you want to keep your heart open, be caring, but not have this heaviness, or sometimes it might show up physically for you or emotionally. So that's what I really want to talk about today. So this can be about, people that are close to you. Maybe it's your partner or your family members or friends or even clients, especially those of you who are in the maybe coaching or healing professions. It's, how do you stay connected to people? And again, really have your heart open, but don't take on their stress or their emotions. Or it could be, again, more about the broader community or the world, which is how do you stay informed and compassionate without feeling totally wrecked by what's going on? Because there's a lot going on, and more than ever, we're connected to it through our phones and through social media. So we want to talk about releasing tension, releasing emotion, coming back into yourself and feeling safer to be sensitive again, because your sensitivity is actually a gift. Your empathy is a gift. So a little bit about my story and why I care so much about this is I would definitely consider myself an empath. Even as a kid, I remember feeling like there was just so much energy. I don't think I consciously had this thought, but when I think back to being a child, I remember just like this so much energy coming at me all the time. Like I could feel all these things, and I didn't have language for that or necessarily even know that's what was happening. It was like, but when I look back, I can go, oh yeah, wow, I was feeling so many things that weren't even mine. And so it often came in and felt like energy coming into my body. And for me, most of my stuff shows up physically. So then I might have, headaches or tension in my body or things like that. And of course, some of that might have been my own, but a lot of it was not. And I also just knew things without being told them a lot of the times. I just understood things, like experiences I'd never had, or I knew things about people or things that were going on under the surface. And so there was information in this, which can be really helpful and beautiful, but I had no idea how to utilize it or how to process it. And so I coped by doing basically 2 things. I would either tense and brace my body, because I was trying to kind of brace myself against everything I was feeling. And so in that, I developed a pattern of carrying a lot of tension in my body, tight shoulders and tight jaw and just tension. And then the other thing I would do especially when things got to be very intense, is disassociate and actually leave my body, have my consciousness sort of leave my body or go up into my head at the very least, and disconnect from awareness of the rest of my body. And to be frank, a lot of these are things that I've struggled with to this day, but I've come a long way in learning to release that tension and not to brace so much, and how to be more present in my body. And so I'm really speaking from the place not of someone who has it all figured out, but of someone who has, grappled with these things and really saw empathy and sensitivity and these kinds of qualities as I don't want to say a curse, but I saw them as really not a good thing for a very long time. And I've spent years really shifting my perspective and creating a new relationship with myself and my body and my awareness. And now I can really say that I do experience them mostly as gifts. So it took me a long time to get there, to come back more into my body, to turn back on some of my sensitivity, but do it in a healthier way. And so I was taking on a lot of stuff that wasn't mine. And so this episode again is about, what have I learned? Basically, what have I learned that I wanted to share with you? Because maybe you're somewhere along this journey yourself. Maybe you're very early on the journey and you're still bracing a lot, or you're still disassociating, or you have your own thing going on there, or maybe you're further along and you've learned some of these aspects, but there's hopefully something you can take away today to help you learn to clear your energy field, to release tension from your body, to get more present and embodied. That's really my wish for you, is that you walk away from this episode with something. So I want to give a quick reframe first on boundaries, because the word boundaries implies like you're here and there's a wall around you. That's what I think of when I think boundary, right? A wall. And so if people say, well, you need to set better boundaries, true, I use that language sometimes, but as an empath, part of our gift is feeling. Part of our gift is what we feel. And again, there's information that comes with that. And I think there's healing that can come through that for yourself and for others. So the goal isn't to shut yourself down, and the goal isn't to put up a wall. To me, it's to create, this is the hilarious word I always use that you guys might remember from high school biology, I guess it would have been, is semi-permeable membrane. Does anybody remember what that is? A semi-permeable membrane. I should probably look up the definition, but I'm just going to try to paraphrase it here. I believe like a cell wall, for example, in your body has a semi-permeable membrane. Certain things can get in and certain things cannot. And so I think of this word all the time when I'm thinking about boundaries or energetics, is like, what if we had a semi-permeable membrane instead? And I kind of like that it's this long, ridiculous word. And so we imagine that we're surrounded by this membrane that can allow only in what we allow in and nothing else, and only out what we allow out. So we want to allow in love. We want to allow in feeling, energy, these kinds of things, but we don't want to allow in too much heaviness or more than we can take on, or anything that's not ours to really feel and transmute. So a core idea I want to talk about here is not to be afraid of feeling. It's just to be more selective in what you decide to really go in and feel fully. So if it's yours, if it belongs to you, then absolutely, I believe it's there to be felt. So that's the first distinction, is if it's your emotion truly or your experience, we are here on this planet to feel. And we're here to feel good things, and we're here to feel not good things. We're here to feel all of it. And it's actually by allowing ourselves to feel that it can move through us. So one thing that I think for empaths and deep feelers is to get into a practice of allowing yourself to feel more, especially if it is yours to feel. So for example, when you see something or read something and it really affects you, sometimes you want to let yourself be affected, but maybe you give yourself 5 minutes and you set a timer and you just let yourself fall apart, or you let yourself just feel all the awful feelings, or maybe all the joyous feelings on the other side, right? But let's just say it's more of a challenging scenario. If you fully let yourself go into those feelings, they will shift. It's not that they'll necessarily go away magically within 5 minutes, but they will change, because there's something interesting about emotions that comes in the word. And emotion is energy in motion. Energy in motion. You may have heard that before. And so what that means is when we actually go in and fully feel a feeling as deeply as we can feel it and go deep, deep, deep into feeling it, I can't remember the exact amount of time. I think I want to say it's like 30 seconds or a minute. That research has shown that you can't feel a feeling for longer than that without it changing to some degree into something else. And so again, it may not dissipate completely, but it will shift. And so what we're most of the time doing is walking around trying not to feel all these things. But what if you gave yourself permission? You gave yourself the practice of 5 minutes a day where you feel something fully, whatever is there for you. How would that start to change your relationship to your sensitivity, to the way that you do feel? Now, again, I don't recommend doing that all the time for things going on in the world or things going on in other people in your life. Like, I'm not saying to try to feel and transmute their stuff, but if it's your own feeling about something going on in the world, it might be worth feeling. If it's your own feelings about what somebody else is going through, great. But before you go in and do that exercise, ask, what is mine? What is mine? And what is not mine? Anything that is not mine, I release it now. And you could breathe in and imagine as you exhale that you're releasing any energy, any emotion that does not actually belong to you. And then anything that remains, feel it fully and let it move through you. So a few ways that you can start to, again, shift your relationship to being an empath and being a deep feeler are to think a little bit differently about boundaries and see this membrane, imagine this membrane instead, or this, I like to think of it as a golden screen. I see a glittering golden screen that surrounds my body. And sometimes I go in and I mentally or in my imagination, I reinforce that screen. And then I decide what comes into that screen and what does not, and what goes out of it and what does not. So I'm not imagining a wall. I'm really setting the tone, setting the container for what gets to come in and out. And then this idea of feel things fully, like re-establish a connection to your feelings. Or you can even do this around your physical feelings. Like if there's pain in your body, instead of trying to avoid it or numb it or not feel it, go in and feel it fully for a few minutes. When I was pregnant, I was having headaches and migraines every day for a while and for months. And it was super difficult because I couldn't really take anything. And so I would just sit in a dark room. And after a while, I would just sit there and just feel the pain. And a lot of times, if I sat with it long enough and really relaxed into feeling it, as difficult as that was, it would start to change. So a couple of things for you to start with there. So the golden screen is a way to stay open. And I when I'm coaching or when I'm having a hard conversation with someone or something like that, I'll just kind of imagine it there in front of me or around me, so I can keep my heart open. I see like love going back and forth. I see, I allow myself to feel, but not take anything on. Another tool somebody taught me was a trash bag. You can imagine there's just like a trash bag hanging out here in the air, and anything that's not meant for you or that's, heavy or doesn't really serve you can kind of go into this trash bag while you're still here very present with the person across from you. So those are a couple of kind of energetic or imagination tools. And then in general, the way that I've learned to integrate more of this is using breath, using sound, and using movement. So breath, that's number one. You can use the breath in so many ways. It's such a powerful tool. But consciously taking a moment and even just doing a sigh. You can look up, I forget what it's called. There's some kind of sigh, but it's basically where you breathe very deeply in through your nose, and then at the top you inhale even a little bit more, and then slowly out through your mouth all the way. There's a word for this and I cannot remember it in this moment, but it's a certain kind of sigh, physiological sigh or something like that. That's one thing. The breath that I tend to use the most is what I call Santa breath, because it's like ho, ho, ho is how I remember the sound I'm supposed to make. So that's just breathing in deeply through your nose. Like that. And you want to do at least 3 of those in a row. Oh. And then again. So even just in that moment, I got so still and so peaceful. I was like, wait, what am I doing? I forgot I was recording a podcast episode. But truly, that's the Santa breaths, as I call them. I learned this from a great body worker and healer that I work with. And that down regulates your nervous system. If you do at least three of those breaths in a row, anytime throughout your day, anytime I start to feel stressed or things are coming up, then that is super powerful for down regulating your nervous system, which is so important as an empath and as a deep feeler, because when your nervous system is more in that rest and digest or that parasympathetic state, then you are more resourced where you can feel things without them throwing you off center, without them pulling you from yourself. So coming to that regulated state using the breath can be very, very powerful. Or you can use the breath as an imagination tool to imagine breathing in your own energy and breathing out anything that doesn't belong to you. The next one is sound. So there's many things you can do with sound. Humming is also a really powerful tool for regulating the nervous system. So just humming a song that you like can be really healing and really soothing to the nervous system. The other thing is to make sounds, make noises. And this one's edgy for most people. For some reason, it's not that edgy for me, although doing it on a podcast, I'm like, I'm actually going to do this on a podcast right now. Feels a little edgy, but my husband will tell you that I make sounds all the time, and I just make the sound of whatever I'm feeling. And so he'll say, what do what's that sound? What's the sound of the anger? And right? Whatever it is. But I really get into it and get into my feelings in my body, and I just try to express them through whatever sound wants to come through. And a lot of times they sound gross. They do not sound good. It's like, or like, ugh, right? And I just let myself use the sound to move the energy. And then the third one is movement. So moving your body. This is something that Tony Robbins is really well known for, is like change your state. Well, any of these things can change your states. Breath, sound, movement, imagination, all these things can, but especially breath, sound, and movement. And he particularly, I think, talks about movement a lot of the time, which is, get up and shake your whole body out, or, clap against your whole body with your hands. I think those are tools from like Qigong. Shake, move your body, go out for a walk, go out for a run. These are all ways of moving things through you. So as an empath or a deep feeler, it is paramount. It is so important that you learn some tools and find the ones that work for you. Try different things. The Santa breaths really work for me. Shaking it out sometimes or going for a walk really works for me. Humming, like I said, I tend to do the other sounds, the not so pretty sounds, a lot more often because that's helpful for me to just like, again, move that energy through me. But that's so much is learning practices to regulate your nervous system and to be able to hold more, because then you can choose the things that you want to hold and to feel, the things that are yours to feel, but don't take on the things that aren't. So just asking the question, is this mine, or is this mine to feel and transmute? Do I want to allow this to move through me? Am I willing to, or is this not mine to feel? So these are questions that you can ask yourself. So I've given you a lot in a very, very short window of time here, but I wanted to keep this fairly short and sweet and just kind of give you a sampling of, different things you can try on to stay open without absorbing, without taking it on, without just loading yourself up with a whole bunch of gunk that's not yours. That's where boundaries are important, but boundaries don't mean what we've thought they mean. There can still be things that get in and get out. Because to me, if we don't feel, then we've cut ourselves off from our gift, basically. As an empath or as a deep feeler, there's some sort of gift you have there. I believe that human beings all have that gift to some degree, and some of us have it to a larger degree than others, just like any gift. And so in that, allowing yourself to open up even 5% more or 10% more to feeling will make a shift, and really seeing it not as a bad thing, not as a curse, not as, oh, I'm just so sensitive, or whatever your frame is on this. Most empaths I talk to have some sort of negative connotation around this. So can you let that go? And can you start to inquire, get curious about what is the gift in this for me? That's my invitation to you. And when it comes to the news and things like that, I'll just close on this because there's so much, is, doses. Like, don't be connected all the time. Stay informed if that's important to you. I think it's great to do that. If there's an action you want to take, I recently heard that people who are activists in whatever arena, right, that is important to them, have much lower rates of depression and things like that, because they feel like they're doing something about whatever is happening in the world that they don't agree with or that they want to make a change in. And so I think there's a couple of different things here. One is, if you're going to read the news or scroll on social media, I try to, for myself, just limit that to a few minutes a day or a certain time of day where it's not right before I go to bed at night. And so I make sure I'm in a space where I'm regulated. I might do some of those Santa breaths before I open my phone and just, get myself into a calm state, so I'm not just being thrown off by everything that I see. And then I go through and I, understand a bit more of what's going on, and I get informed. And then I ask the question, what is mine to do? What is mine to do? Is there anything here I feel called to take an action on? And if so, what is that action? And if not, then maybe it's enough that I'm just informed for now. And then the other thing you could ask is, what is mine to feel? Do I have feelings about this that I need to sit and really be with and allow myself to feel them fully so they can move? Or do I want to just let it go and move on with my day? So those two questions can be really, really powerful. Keeping it into small doses can be really helpful. And that's really what I have for you today. So I hope you enjoyed it. And I would love to hear from you what really resonated. If any of this, lands for you, feel free to always email us. You can email me at McKenna, MAKENA, at wayofthemuse.com. So Way of the Muse, Muse is MUSE.com. And then the other thing is, if you haven't picked up a copy of our book yet, it just came out a couple of weeks ago. It's called The Wisdom That Raised Me, A Daughter's Journey into Wholeness, Wisdom, and Womanhood. And it's available on Amazon.com and all of the Amazons around the world, as far as I understand. I'll also be going in and recording the audiobook version in a couple days. So it will take a while for it to actually come out. I think it'll be like May, but that will be coming as well later. There's really great exercises in the book. So I hope you love it. It's partially a story and partially a personal development book. So please pick up your copy, give us a 5-star, rating and review on Amazon if you're up for it. It makes a huge difference for us. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you. Thank you.
That's our episode for today, but let's not make it the end of our love story. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and think of some women in your life you'd love to share it with. And if you want to learn more about our events and programs, visit wayofthemuse.com. See you next time.